All right, 1 2 1 2 in the place to be. What's up, y'all? How y'all feel out there? I am Frank Red. This is the In the Dungeon Show, another edition, and looking forward to talking to you tonight about whatever's on your mind. I got some topics that I want to bring to the audience, but I would love to hear your comments about some of the things that you have been noticing or itching to talk about over the past week. And I'm really excited about that. We can wrap up the Summer League. The Summer League is kind of it's a vacation for basketball fans. It keeps NBA employees and everybody associated with the league together. You know, you don't want to sit around too long without working. You're still getting paid. So why not go to Vegas for a couple of weeks and get some practice in, check in with your players, get a look-see of the players that you've drafted, some free agents, maybe there's some players from overseas that you don't have an opportunity to see in person. You've only seen in tape. So there's a lot of good reasons why the NBA Summer League works. And from a basketball fan perspective, it's like Christmas. It's like being in a candy store that has all of your favorite treats, because the loud thing that no one talks about is the accessibility of the players. They're so accessible. You might see them at a buffet. You might see them walking around, transitioning from one gym to the next. So it's a good time. I would suggest, if you are a basketball fan, to at some point go check out the NBA Summer League. Before I came on tonight, I was actually watching a very competitive championship game between the Sacramento Kings and the Charlotte Hornets, and we'll get into that. It's really not important who wins the game. I don't know who won, but both teams have players who are out there playing for their lives, giving it all that they had. And post Jordan's ownership, you look at the Charlotte Hornets, and they have some interesting players, some players to build around, and it would surprise me in a couple of years if they're not in the playoffs. So that's my synopsis of that particular game. We can get into some specific players, some things that I saw that I'm encouraged by, maybe some disappointments, and I'd love to hear from you as well. My name is Frank Red. Hit the like button. It helps the show out. Subscribe to the show. And I got a favor to ask you all a little later on in the show. But we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors. Not a lot to talk about, but there's some reasons behind it. There's some background stuff that I'm sure no one's talking about out loud, but it's really, really important. So we're going to talk about the Warriors. I'm interested in the Kings also. I think the Kings got a good draft pick in Nate Crawford, a young man out of Colorado State. By some accounts, he was one of the top 5 rookies in the Summer League. So Sacramento's not going to make the playoffs this year, but they should be interesting. And we should finally get an opportunity in a full season to assess Doug Christie. Can he coach? Can he be an NBA coach? He's had his moments, but now he has a full roster. And it's really not about wins. It's about how guys play. And they got some young pieces. So talk about the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, the big story with them is really surrounding around Jonathan Kuminga. And I've been thinking all weekend about this because it's pretty simple. If you've ever been in a relationship, right? A relationship, and I would even say a marriage to a certain degree, although I haven't been married. So I'm sure some of you all out there who are married or have been married, you can check me on that if I'm wrong. But I think a relationship, and I've been in some close long-term relationships. I think you can survive anything except a lack of trust. Can't survive that, because if you don't trust the person or the entity that you are with, you start seeing ghosts. All of a sudden, you are accusing someone of doing something that they ain't doing, that they might have done something else, but right now you have no evidence, but because you've been hurt or affected, you don't trust that person. I think that's what Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors are. And this could get really, really nasty and get really ugly. And ultimately, it's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help Kuminga because he's probably going to lose some money, right? So it's in his best interest if they don't sign him to go in and do the best job that you can do. From the Warriors' perspective, they know that this could, from the start, harm the chemistry they're trying to build. If Jonathan Kuminga is there playing in the last year of his rookie deal, he knows he's going to get traded by the trade deadline. He knows that. They know that. Same scenario happened with D'Angelo Russell a couple of years ago, but everybody was in on the deal. D'Angelo knew he was getting traded. He had already been signed. He wasn't tripping. Kuminga, I think, is not a Jake. No one said the guy doesn't work hard, but would you go airborne, flying into the stands, knowing that you can rip your knee up, pull an Achilles when you don't have a contract for the next year? Think about that. I don't think so. So this is a mess. Financially, the Warriors have to get their situation straight before they can go out and sign the players that they want to sign, i.e. Al Horford and possibly DeAnthony Milton. Those are two players that fit very nicely into what the Warriors want to do. And there's a team. A pretty competitive team when you consider how they play. If you want to talk about the Warriors, if you have a different perspective than I have, that's fine. I would love to hear it. But I think this thing is pretty bad because of a lack of trust. NFL camps, the rookies are already in San Francisco, but the veterans show up on the 22nd. I guess it's Tuesday. And everything was all good until it wasn't. Right? All of a sudden, Juwan Jennings, fan favorite, somebody who the industry, the 49ers really appreciate, he held up his hand last week and said, yo, what about me? When am I going to get paid? My role changed, right? So for all the people to say, you signed a contract, honor your contract. What? This is the NFL. So I didn't come on air and be perceived as, like a homer for the players. I did some research. I was doing it last night. The 49ers, to me, are viewed as a potential playoff team. Do you know the salaries of a starting wide receiver on teams expected to make the playoffs? It's somewhere between $15 and $25 million. Am I suggesting that the 49ers go from 7.5 to 25 million? No, I'm not saying that. But I think, 15 million for Juwan Jennings, if he's your best player at wide receiver, that seems fair to me. They need to find the money. All right? Ricky Pearsall, once again, is not active. He's on the list that players get on when they can't get on the field. All right, the non-performing list or whatever it is. Obviously, no one's going to hold what happened to Ricky last year against him. The guy was shot, for God's sake. So that's not what we're doing here. But he's had little tweaks, and there have been times in which he has not been able to play. And right now, as they start camp, he's not going to be on the field. So once again, the energy flows towards Juwan Jennings. They got to pay the guy, as far as I'm concerned. And, I like to see organizations be progressive. Before the players have to raise their hand or their agents or somebody say, listen, what about me? What the Philadelphia Eagles did for Saquon Barkley is what they should do. It's what every organization should aspire to do. They might have been talking behind closed doors about raising Saquon's salary, but at the end of the day, the Eagles organization looked great because they were proactive. And what did they do? They gave him more money. They made sure he was taken care of. There's no gripes. You go into camp now, everybody's ready to go. Right? Baltimore did the same thing with their top running back. So to me, if the 49ers were really looking at this through a different lens, the one beyond their own lens, they would have taken care of Jawan Jennings. He's 28, all right? It isn't like he's 22. Dude has to get paid. If he gets hurt, he's cooked. Everybody knows that. Once again, this is the In the Dungeon Show. Hit the like button, subscribe to the show. It really helps me out. We got a lot more to talk about, but those are some of the things I wanted to get out there to kind of wet your whistle. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Dame Lillard going back to where it all started. I mean, it sounds like an after-school special, and it kind of is, but it's also a smart decision from Portland's perspective and from Dame's perspective, you know, because they're building a roster. They essentially rented Dame Lillard out like they do in European soccer, you know? Yeah, you can borrow my guy for about $20 million. Take care of him, make sure you bring him back in another year. But Dame got hurt, so it's a little different. But Dame Lillard going back to Portland makes them even better than they have been. And when you consider how well they drafted, I think they've done an incredible job. It's going to be interesting to see if Chauncey Billups can finally take this roster. Now, obviously, Dame's not going to be there, but they got Drew Holiday. You should see Portland in the play-in or the 8th seed this year. If they're really playing at optimum efficiency, this is a team that should make some headwinds. And if they don't, Chauncey's probably not going to be there next year. SGA, what's up, brother? What's up, Frank? I appreciate you, brother. I'm doing fantastic. TG, what's up, Frank? What's up, man? I'll continue on the Dame Lillard deal. I know Dame a little bit. You know, I've been around him a lot, but I know him a little bit. We're not friends. I don't have his number. You know, I'm not trying to, project that. But I've watched how this guy moves. He's a class guy, a real classy dude. And from what I understand, he has so many ties in the Portland area. Business-wise, his camps, a lot of the non-profit, altruistic things that he does are centered in Portland. So I think it's a brilliant move. And I think that Dame Lillard kind of fits in that John Stockton category. If he ever won a championship, that would be fantastic, right? But if he don't, he's still going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's still going to be probably number 1 and number 2 in Portland Trailblazers folklore. And here's the thing that nobody's talking about that I think is a real possibility. It would not surprise me if he ultimately becomes a minority owner of the Portland Trailblazers. Not many players get to transition into ownership. And I don't have any intel on that, but it seems like the right thing to do when you consider that the Portland Trailblazers are going to be sold at some point. Now, we don't know, probably within the next year or two. So there's a lot of good there. And the most important thing is Dame probably misses his kids, man. He's going to have an opportunity to be with his family and see his kids. So I'm happy for him. It was kind of out of the blue, but it makes sense. So that's good. RC Rules, what's up? How you doing, brother? How's the weather over there? WNBA All-Star thoughts. You know, I'm all over the WNBA. I'm a fan, man. I'm a major, major fan. I love women. I love women empowerment and the idea that they can be who they are. Number one, they can be who they are. And they can take a passion that they have, which is as strong as the men. They just didn't have the opportunity in the past. And go out on the court and express themselves in a way that enthralls their fan bases and makes them feel great. I love it. I also like the fact that they wore the shirts to get that in the consciousness of not the WNBA owners and the NBA. They were speaking to the fans. I think they were speaking mostly to the fans, because if you're an 8-year-old kid, a 9-year-old kid, 7, young adult, you just go into the game. It's a diversion. But when the lights go out and people are conducting business, there's no way you should have a rookie, any rookie, especially someone like Caitlin Clark, essentially making $70,000. That's her salary, 76, whatever it is, when she is generating. What would you guys say that she's generated for Indiana, the Fever? 50 million, 100 million in terms of value of that team? One player. So I'm going to say that they need to bump it up at least to 100 G's. I think the minimum salary for rookies is probably going to settle around, I don't know, 80 or 90, but I think it should be 100. Minimum salary. I think the highest salary should probably be somewhere around 300-400. Probably 400. 500 if they're a super max type player. So I want to see ladies get paid, man. It's crazy. As for the game, I thought that the 4-point play, the 4-point shot was a great addition. I enjoyed it. I did not watch the entire game. I'm not going to lie and say I did. But I watched a lot of it, and was really happy. Was happy for Kayla Thornton, the Valkaries player. She had an opportunity to feel the love. This is somebody who did not get drafted in the WNBA. Was never a starter until this year. Was essentially a cast-off from the Liberty, and she comes to the Valkaries, comes to the Bay, and becomes a star. I think that's awesome. So that's my take on the WNBA All-Star game. I thought it was great. I'm sure the ratings were outstanding. It didn't bother me that Caitlin Clark didn't play. She was there. She was a part of it. And unfortunately, she could not play. But she still did her thing, you know. She was captain. She was coaching, having fun. It's all good. I want to go back to last week a little bit, because I said something, and then I had an opportunity to kind of do a little bit more research and trust my eyes. I said that I was a little concerned with Con Knipple, the number 4th pick of the Charlotte Hornets. I like him. I like his game, man. Again, he kind of reminds me of Kelly Tripucka, John Havlicek. Although he's not the player that John Havlicek is, it remains to see. It remains to see if he's as good as Kelly Tripucka. The one thing I like about Con Knipple, he gets him up, right? He is not afraid of the moment. And in the NBA, the first thing you got to do is establish that you're not in awe of the players that you're playing with and against. And he's a tough kid. He's going to be around for a while. He's probably going to have some challenges guarding based on what I see. Doesn't look like he's a great defensive player. He has some physical limitations. But if you play team ball and the ball finds him and he's wide open, he's going to shoot north of 40% from the three-point line. And he can initiate offense. I didn't know he dribbled so well. He's smart. He makes the right pass. So he can literally play 3 positions in the half court. So I got to take that back. I am not concerned about Con Knipple. I think he's going to do a really good job in Charlotte. I also think that since Jordan no longer owns the team, he owns a minority share, the philosophy of the team is changing before our eyes. And I think it's all for the better because they're going to be more diversified, more team-oriented, and you're going to have to play. Like, I look at LaMelo Ball, I would be shocked if he's still there in 2 years. I think they're going to move off of him. Not because he's not a good player, not because he's a bad guy, but I think culturally, they're going to move away from the individual star. I think they want a collection of stars, a collection of players that all play for each other. And I don't know if he's ever going to be able to do it there. Maybe he can do it somewhere else. All right. Andrew to go. Jonathan Kuminga does not want to return to the Warriors. So the Warriors cannot do anything until JK makes his decision. Put my glasses on. What if he does not want to come back? So the Warriors might as well sign him. Yeah, you say that, but sign and trade him with who? You have to sign and trade him with another team. And the Warriors clearly, and I talked about this in a tweet earlier this week, the Warriors seemingly don't have a draft partner, right? They don't have a draft partner right now. They probably will have one at the trade deadline, or they'll just say, forget about it and take what they can get. But right now, the one thing Mike Dunleavy Jr. does not want to do, and what Joe Lacob is not going to allow it to happen, is the Warriors get fleeced. Give me a name of a player that you think they could trade Jonathan Kuminga for. That player probably doesn't exist right now, with the expectation of the fans being excited to have said player. So they got to sit. They don't want to extend him the amount that he wants. So it's going to get ugly. It's a bad marriage. The Warriors cannot do. Okay, I made. The Warriors still have not signed a free agent yet or made a trade or move. The Warriors are not playing Jonathan Kuminga. Nope. So I don't understand that. Here's the thing. The Warriors don't need to make a lot of moves because they already have their team. Okay? They already have their team. So there aren't a whole lot of moves to make. There's two slots that they have, and those slots, best case scenario, are going to go to Al Horford and DeAnthony Milton. That's their team. Presumably with Jonathan Kuminga coming back. Salary cap matters. This second apron crap, it's been horrible for the NBA. Horrible. Even with OKC. OKC signed all of their players, their top 3 players, to long-term contracts. So they're going to be all right for the next 2 or 3 years. Can they do what the Warriors did, run these championships off, or do what the Lakers and the Bulls did? I don't think so. I think the league is too good. I think players are too hungry. And things kind of fell into place for OKC this year. So I can see a scenario where in a couple of years, one of those big 3 are not in OKC because of the salary structure. I don't like it. I'm sure the owners love it because they can't make so many bad decisions and have to pay for it now. They've developed a system that essentially saves them from themselves. Because there were some poorly run organizations. I'm not worried about the smart organizations, like the San Antonio Spurs, the Warriors, teams like that. But there are some bad organizations that make emotional decisions, and they kill their franchises. In the NBA right now, it's hard to do that. What's up, Keith? Always great to talk to you. What's up, Frank? How good will Reed Sheppard be in his second year with KD being a true superstar? I love Reed Sheppard. You know that. I love the guy. And for anybody who thinks that he's not that dude, he's that dude. I'm not totally sold that Ime Udoka is going to play him a whole lot more this year. I just don't believe it. Based on Ime's track record, based on his mantra of defense first, I don't know if Reed's going to play a lot. I think, I just don't, man. I mean, Holiday's a good little player, and he's probably a better defender than Reed. You have Van Vliet. Where are you going to play Reed at? Reed can only play one position. He can't play two. We know that. He can't guard. So I would have loved to have seen Houston trade him. But I don't think they want to do that because from a basketball perspective, that dude's fire, man. He's really good. I know the Warriors love him. Actually, the Warriors, do they only have 9 players on their roster? That's not what I saw this weekend. People were saying that. No, this is on the team. They got Moody, they got Trace Jackson Davis, they got Quinn Post, they got Buddy Hill, they got Steph, Brandon Podzinski. They got more than 9 guys. They do. I saw it on the board. The Warriors do not want to pay JK. They got Jonathan Kuminga. At all. So this is how it is. How is it? We just had a stalemate? It's going to be, the resolution is going to be, hey, dude, if you want to make your $7.9 million, which is nothing to sneeze at, come to camp, show up, and we'll see what happens. My problem with that is this could affect the chemistry. It really could. And everybody, I was thinking about this. What is the difference between what Jimmy Butler did in Miami versus what's happening with Kuminga? Jimmy Butler was more demonstrative. And he went out and he played and he kind of played. Miami didn't do very well. Kuminga could be doing the same thing. And then what happened when Jimmy Butler got his money and he got traded? All of a sudden he became Jimmy Butler, the superstar again. There is no difference in the scenario between what Jimmy Butler went through last year and what Jonathan Kuminga is going through now. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Hey Frank, the Warriors only 9 players currently under contract, so they would need to sign 5 more players to reach the 14-player minimum. It's actually 15. I think you can have like 13 contracts and 2. Or maybe I'm wrong. Somebody do the exercise of telling me the players that have under contract. You don't have to write both names. I thought I had it. I don't want to take up all the time doing that. Let me try it again. Stephen, Brandon Podzinski, Buddy Hill, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler. That's 5. Trace Jackson Davis, Jonathan Kuminga, Post, Moses Moody, Is that it? Okay. All right. Maybe I'm missing someone. They're not signing anybody else. They want to sign one of those G League guys they have. I meant to say the Warriors do not want to pay JK at all. He's not going to get any minutes. So the Warriors might as well do a sign and trade. Yeah, but you're not telling me who you're going to sign and trade with. Oh, if you follow the NBA relatively closely, like I do, and maybe you do, so many other people, the salary cap is not allowing this. Look at all these veteran cats who are pretty decent players, and they're not signed. Jonathan Kuminga is one of 4 restricted free agents. He just happens to be the highest profile to me. The other high profile restricted free agent in his draft class is Giddey in Chicago. And Chicago is watching to see what the Warriors do, and the Warriors are watching to see what Chicago does. Quentin Grimes, nobody's really worried about that too much. You know, he's not going to get a crazy amount of money. This is about Jonathan Kuminga and Josh Giddey. You know, I think in a normal situation, I think both players would probably get $30 million. Look at what OKC's shoveling out. I mean, but players are getting paid. They are. JK is not going to even play for the Warriors. He's going to sit on the bench. And they're not going to play him at all. They want him gone. Yeah, they might want him gone, but they're not going to. I don't think that they'll tell him to stay home and pay him. I don't think so. That doesn't feel like a Joe Lacob type move, but it could get real ugly. It could get really ugly because I don't think Jonathan Kuminga is a Jake. I think he wants to get better. He wants to play. But if you don't think that he's mindful of getting hurt, he should be mindful of getting hurt. He should be. Although, if you go out and you play tentatively, that's when you get hurt. TG says, okay, they only have 9 signs. Steph, Buddy, Butler, Draymond, Moody, Pods, Post, Trey Jackson, Davis, and Gee. I was missing Gee. Butler, Post. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, that's where okay. I got it now. You might as well consider Jonathan Kuminga signed because he's under contract. They've already exercised. He's under contract. He's a restricted free agent, but he is among those 9 plus 1. It's 10. He's on the roster, right? So they got 10 players. They got 10. Not 9. They got 10. Jonathan Kuminga is signed. He's not going to leave $8 million on the table when they start getting checks. That's unheard of in the NBA. It's not smart. They know that too. AK is not under contract with the Warriors. He is an unrestricted free agent. No, he's not. That means he's looking for a new contract. No, he's not. Jonathan Kuminga is a restricted free agent. Next year, he will be an unrestricted free agent. I know that. I don't blame Jawan for asking for a raise. He deserves it. And one hit to the knee could be career over. Give him a slight raise, no extension. He's getting old and slow, but we need him this year, at least. geez, you're a sensible guy. And here's the deal. Before I came on air last night at a cafe, I was doing research, and I researched it. The average salary of a starting wide receiver in the NFL with playoff aspirations is between $15 and $25 million a year. This dude's the best player on the team. He makes 7.5. Give me a break. You trade Debo, who's making a ton of money. You didn't put that money back in the wide receiver position. You gave a lot of it to Brock Purdy. Good for Brock. But what about Jawan Jennings? The argument that you should honor your contract works in most sports, football. Most football players don't have crazy large signing bonuses. Some do, but this could be career ending for Jawan Jennings. Think about this. Training camp opens on Tuesday. How many players do you think from now until game 1 is going to be out for the year, ruptured knee, shoulder dislodgement, Achilles, something, right? 4 or 5 guys? Over. Get your money, man. JK wants $30 million. The Warriors are not going to give him that. No, they're not. But somebody else will. They screwed up. They should have traded him 2 years ago. Too bad the Warriors and the Bulls don't just trade their restricted free agents to each other. Herbert liked Giddey on the team. Yeah, Kerr does not want to pay a player $30 million who can't shoot, though. SGA, you said hi already. What's up, my brother? How you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. Kerr is a shy guy. Would he take Kobe White? Maybe. I don't think so. Kobe White probably averages, 20 points a game and maybe 3 assists. He's kind of I'm not gonna call him a ball hog because his role on that team was to score. I will say he doesn't do a whole lot besides scoring. He just doesn't. He's having a good career, but doesn't quite fit. He's like a better version of Buddy Hield. That's what he is. He's better than Buddy Hield, but they pretty much do the same thing. What did Buddy Hield average last year? Maybe 2 assists a game? Maybe. Andrew the Ghost says, Kuminga is screwed because teams don't have the kind of money for him. He should have taken a deal last year. What deal last year? The low ball deal? I disagree with that. No, he shouldn't. He should believe in himself. He should go out and play his tail off and prove people wrong. How many of us? I'm sure I'm talking to a lot of people right now. How many people have been in situations where you had to prove yourself or someone doubted you and that motivated you? I think that's what Kuminga is. Now, again, it comes down to trust. I thought about this weekend. The Warriors don't trust him. They don't trust him. So this is not going to work. The other thing that I got wrong last week that I wanted to talk about before I forget is I never thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers would pay TJ Watt more than Garrett. And they did. And I mean, I'm happy for Watt because I like him. I think Pittsburgh is going to surprise a lot of teams this year. But over the past couple of years, TJ has been hurt. Now, he has the sack numbers, but he's missed some pivotal games that Pittsburgh actually lost last year. He gets a 3-year extension at what, like $120 million? Good for him. Guy makes $40 million a year. A non-quarterback making $40 million a year. I'm not mad at that, man. Good for him. Dude makes like what? 2.5, 2.3 million, 2.3 or 2.5 million dollars per game. Good for him. JK should go to the Washington Wizards. Yeah, I think Washington would be great for him. I do. I think they got some vets there now. But they have to be in a situation where he's going to have a runway, a real long runway. Just plug him in as a starter and give him the time that he needs to develop. Because no matter how talented Jonathan Kuminga is, and he's very talented, it's going to be a transition for him to go from kind of being like a nice little toy that Kerr put out there, and he had his moments, to every game, all 82, you're in the scouting report. Every game, you're in the scouting report. That's why we all admire players like Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry, at age 37, 38, is in the scouting report every game. Jonathan Kuminga hasn't dealt with that before. So you want numbers to translate into wins. Otherwise, coaches get fired. So, when I watch the Summer League and I see a guy like Con Knipple getting after it, I mean, how many guys do you know in Summer League would get 5 stitches yesterday in a game, maybe feeling a little, less than 100%, and still play the next game, the championship game? Everybody's not built like that. Con Knipple is. And I'm impressed. Thoughts on Paige Beckers? Love her game. Love her game. To me, Sabrina Ionescu is my favorite guard. I definitely give props to Diggins. But the player who plays the guard position, who has the sweetest package, to me is Paige Beckers. Her package is filthy. Now, I'm not somebody who is enamored with rainbow threes. That doesn't really do it for me, because most of the time when a player makes 3-point shots, they're not being guarded. We've seen Steph make ridiculous shots with people draped all over him from 30 feet. We don't see young ladies in the WNBA doing that. We see them making wide open shots, which is pretty impressive. But most of the time when they shoot threes, they're not being guarded. Paige Beckers gets to the mid-range. She'll rise up on you from 15 feet and knock it down. I'm a big fan of hers. And I'm also, I'm one of those live your life people, be who you are. The fact that she doesn't have to live in the shadows now, and she's being her true self, I guess her and AZ Fudd go together. I'm happy for those young ladies. I mean, we're at a time in our society where you can be who you are, and good for them. I think we probably assumed some stuff was going on, but to have them out front, talk about women empowerment. I think it's great. They're taking over their narrative, man. Playing incredible basketball. If I have a chance to watch a WNBA game against teams that are really competitive, I want to see that. The only team I don't really like to watch is the Connecticut Sun. I don't particularly like to watch them. I like JC, the young lady who played at Indiana, but I don't really like to watch that team. But most WNBA teams, I love watching because there's always a couple of players who I like. But these women are not hiding anymore. No, we're not doing that. We're making our money, we're playing basketball, and we're doing what we want to do. And guess what? People don't care. It's about basketball. That's what it's about. TJ says, me too. SGA, sadly, you just have to admit it. No, you don't. No, he does. But let me say this though. It's kind of sad, right? Because what that says to me about JK not fitting in the Warriors is Steve Kerr has a very, very stringent idea of how the game should be played. And he's not budging from that. If he budged a little bit, they would still be good. They might be even better. So this idea that everybody has to fit perfectly into this system, I don't particularly like that. I think players get ruined. Like, good basketball players can play in any system. If that was the case, why did Jonathan Kuminga come off the bench against Minnesota? Why not keep him on the bench? Why not start D. Santos? From a mental perspective, if I think about this critically, it infuriates me because it doesn't make any sense. How can a guy be nailed to the bench against the Houston Rockets, come off the bench against Minnesota, and literally be the only player on your team keeping you in the game if he can't play in the system? Explain that to me. Don't get it. How about Mike? Does his job that's good for the Warriors and pay those free agents that you. I don't understand this. You have to write in complete sentence for me. Mike, cool. I don't get it. Valkaries Jr. Don't know. Spell it out for me. I'm a Warrior fan, and Steve Kerr keeps benching JK, and that's absolute crap. I miss Bob Myers as the Warriors general manager because Mike is not doing what he needs to be doing for the Warriors. Fans be happy right now off season. I'm going to say slow down a little bit on that because, again, name some players who you want this guy to go out and get. I think Mike Valkaries Jr. is actually, it's boring as hell. Don't get me wrong. It is extremely boring. But to say that he's hurt the team in the offseason, I disagree with that. How has he hurt the team? How? He hasn't signed a player that fans don't like or the Warriors know can't play. He has not done that. He hasn't done that. He's waiting on Al Horford and DeAnthony Milton. Yeah, like I said last week, and I'll say it again. I think Al Horford has options. I think he has options beyond the NBA. I think his transition into color commentary could be really, really strong. DeAnthony Milton coming off an injury. I think he is probably trying to latch on to a good situation, and maybe he thinks that's what the Warriors. I don't know, but I'm not one of these guys that is ready to pounce on Mike Dunleavy Jr. I mean, he's not charismatic like Bob Myers. He's not. But he did stick his neck out there to get Jimmy Butler. He did do that. After KD said he didn't want to come, and why was he able to sell that? Because he played with Jimmy Butler. You know, he knew what they were getting. He's been a teammate of Jimmy Butler. So give him some credit. I didn't like giving him a first-round draft pick. You guys know that. But at the end of the day, when I look at what Jimmy Butler brought to the Warriors, I think you can rationalize that it was a good move. JK should be good with $7 million. How much is that in Congo? Yeah. I know you're being funny. I'm just gonna these brothers learn how to count real fast. They learn how to count. Okay. So yeah, you're right. You know, he's made a lot of money already, and he should be good. But there's a big difference between 7.9 million and 30 million. And I don't have a plan. I have zero problems with players getting paid. I like players to get paid. What I don't like is to see players get paid and then not perform. You know? I'm going to say this too. I actually got into a conversation with somebody who I think is a Sacramento Kings fan. You know, on Twitter, his handle was kind of Sacramento-esque. And he and I were talking about whether or not the Kings should sign Ben Simmons. I was like, no, they shouldn't sign him. You know, he's not a shooter. By all accounts, he has not established himself as a leader. He's looking for a job. You're not going to sign him to a long-term deal. You know, he's just a guy. If you're going to sign somebody who is a reclamation project, which is what he is, you want to know 100% this is a guy who's going to enhance my locker room. There's nothing about Ben Simmons that says that he's that guy, particularly when you have a bunch of young guys in Sacramento that you've already committed money to, i.e. Dennis Schroeder. You don't want to take the ball out of Dennis Schroeder's hands. Even if you have drawn the conclusion that Devin Carter's not that good. Maybe you've done that. You still don't want to just like kick him to the curb and not allow him to develop. You want to give him time to develop. So you don't bring in a veteran like Ben Simmons and nail him to the bench. He wants to play. You bring him in because you think he can help your team. Now, conversely, I think he'd be a pretty good signing for the Warriors because the Warriors' future is right now. They're not looking past this year. It's a year-to-year proposition for the Warriors every year. And I think that Ben Simmons actually would bring a lot to the Golden State Warriors. They don't need him to shoot. They don't need his scoring. He is an excellent defender. He is a quality distributor as a point guard, rebounder. Talk about a great backup point guard. Talk about a guy who could play meaningful minutes with Steph down the stretch. So I think Ben Simmons would be a good pick for the Warriors, but not for the Sacramento Kings. That's my take on that. NFL. I mean, a lot of times sports talk when it comes to football, very regional. I listen to a lot of people in the Bay Area. We do a pretty good job covering the 49ers. I wish we had the Raiders. But I'm living in the past. Raiders are never coming back. and that's history. That's one less team that I can really dig deep into because I don't really follow Raiders anymore, and I'm not going to follow them, beyond general information. But I covered the Raiders for 15 years, and I loved the connection that they had with their community. The 49ers, they pretty much had a boring offseason, which is what you want. This Jawan Jennings situation is coming up out of nowhere, but they knew what his salary was. They could have been proactive and gave him some more money, and nobody would be talking about this. All right, SGA, dude, let me say this to you. If you're going to use the chat, I need you to offer something to the show and not greet everybody else who's listening to the show. I'm going to block you. Stop doing that. All right? If you don't have anything to say, just kind of hang in the background. And I don't want you galvanizing the chat. All right? I don't want you doing that. Stop it. That's not your responsibility to say hi to everybody. Back in October, JK was offered $150 million, 5 years. That he turned down. I hope, for his sake, that he changed his agent. Because I haven't seen that. When? When did that happen? Who said that? It was never printed. He wanted to get to. Listen, I'm not going to say you're wrong because I don't know. But yeah, if he turned down $150 million, he should be fired. Today he should be fired. But that was his market value. 5 years, $150 million, he turned that down? Really? No, SBA, no. Dude, you will be blocked, all right? Say hi to everybody on your show, not this show. Stop doing that. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna block you, dude. Put him in timeout. I ain't doing that. I've never done that before. You know what? It's like if you can't respect what people are asking you to do, what kind of person are you? That's crazy. I normally don't get upset about anything, but I'm upset about that. The Valkaries have been the biggest story, and one of the biggest stories in WNBA. But they're coming off a tough run where they're playing competitive basketball, but they're losing against some really quality teams. They're trying to hold on to that last playoff spot, and they got to strap it up because it's getting tough. They take on the Dallas Wings on Friday in San Francisco. That should be a game that they can win. But it's not horseshoes. They're playing tough basketball. They're good, but they're losing some really tight games that you would expect them to possibly win. Among the NFL teams, who are you excited to see this year? I don't think the Eagles are going to repeat. I don't think so. Law of averages say that they won't. But I like watching the Philadelphia Eagles, and I love the Jalen Hurts story because I've never seen a player doubt it so much and actually feed off that doubt and use it as motivation to have success. I've never seen anybody like that before. He's really one of the great stories in sports. And I root for guys like that. So, Philadelphia Eagles, I want to see them play as well as they played last year, and in the same breath, I want to see if Washington can continue to improve. I think they like sprayed like genius juice, genius oil on Daniels, Jalen Daniels. He's good, Jalen Daniels. But you guys saw that list on ESPN. Where is he ranked? Like number 4 or 5? But give me a break. Okay. Jake Fisher, and multiple others report the Warriors 150 offered it to me turned down. I just Googled it. Thank you. I appreciate you. I didn't see it. So let me say this to you then. If the Warriors offered Jonathan Kuminga $150 million, allegedly, and he didn't take it, why is he still here? That makes no sense to me. Why is he still here? He would have to be delusional. Now, I guess you're saying that there's some players who make even more than that. If an NBA team offers you $150 million and you haven't started more than say 50 games in your career, you have to take that money. And from a Warriors perspective, you would have to feel totally disrespected if you offered $150 million and then he turns it down. Why is he still here? And he hasn't been around. Has anybody seen Jonathan Kuminga in Vegas? I didn't see any pictures of him. I didn't see any interviews of Kerr this summer either. When the coach just kind of pops up and he's talking in halftime on the broadcast, I didn't see that. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I didn't see it. This whole thing's a mess, man. It's an absolute mess. I'm actually, with regard to the NBA, I love to see teams when they come up. I'm actually excited about the Sacramento Kings, not because they're going to be good, but I want to see if Doug Christie can coach. I mean, the player that they got from Colorado State, Nick Clifford, excuse me, talented prospect. Got him at 24. The Kings were not even in the first round. They got into the first round, drafted him at 24, and he looks like he's going to be like a top 10 rookie this year. There's going to be a lot of minutes there for him. So they're going to be an interesting team. They're certainly in rebuild mode, but they drafted Isaac Jones, the kid out of Washington State, in the second round. That kid, to me, looks like he's more than a rotation player. He was dominating in some games in the Summer League. So, I mean, you look at the Kings and you would say, wow, this team's in trouble. And then you look a little closer and you realize that post De'Aaron Fox being traded, the coach being fired, they've had a pretty good offseason. No one's going to turn Dennis Schroeder into Stephen Curry. No. But he's proved that he can be a competent player. And that's what that's what Sacramento's trying to do. They're trying to build some momentum, and hopefully they can continue to win in the draft. Keegan Murray, he regressed last year. I don't have any confidence right now to think that just because he's a year older, he's going to be a year better. I don't believe that. Why would anybody think that based on what we've seen from him? I would love to see a Keegan Murray for Jonathan Kuminga trade straight up. I would do it. With Wemby being cleared, are they a title contender? No. They're not. I think it's going to take some time. Watching Dylan Harper play this summer is fun because he does some amazing things, but his game needs to be tighter. You know, he's going to play a lot of minutes. I mean, 25 to 30. And he's going to make some mistakes. You know, so it's going to take some time. They don't really have a power forward. They don't. I mean, you can put Harrison Barnes at power forward and put, Vassell at the 3, but they don't have a legitimate power forward. They don't. I think that's going to hurt their rebounding. They got Lou Cornett to play backup center. And, I think that was a good signing. And Wemby has to show all of us that he's not fragile. And I'm not talking about the blood clot, because that can happen to anybody. But he needs to, at some point, establish himself as a force. There's some games in which Wemby might take 5 or 6, 7 threes. You got a 7'2", 7'3" guy that talented shooting 3-pointers, and maybe he makes half or less than half. That's a win for the defense. That's a win for the defense. So, no, I don't think San Antonio is championship level right now. I got some serious problems about their shooting. I mean, Dylan Harper, good player, but he didn't establish himself as a really good shooter this summer. The kid they got from UConn last year was Rookie of the Year. He's not a great shooter. I think San Antonio will be in the play-in. I also think that not re-signing Chris Paul makes all the sense in the world, but I think it hurts the team. I think it does. I think had Wemby not gotten hurt last year, I think San Antonio might have been a play-in team. I do. So, I don't think they're going to challenge next year. I think the teams that's going to challenge next year, Houston, which is number 2 seed. The West is just tough, man. Dallas is going to be good. The Warriors are going to be good. The Lakers are going to be good. The Clippers are going to be good. Denver's going to be good. I think Memphis is done. I do. I think Memphis needs to continue to blow that thing up. I think they should have traded Ja somewhere, but I don't know if organizations want to bring that reputation to their communities. I just don't think they do. So Ja Morant has a lot to do just to continue to rebuild or maybe reform his image, before other teams I think will seriously look at maybe acquiring him, because I think his days in Memphis are pretty much done. And what do I mean by that? I mean in terms of leading that team in a way that allows them to challenge for a championship. I think those days are gone. Still a talented player, but I think he needs to go. Maybe like Milwaukee. I think someone like Milwaukee would probably be a pretty good spot for him. But I think Memphis is done. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I have no intel, but it would not surprise me at some point if the Memphis Grizzlies are not in Nashville. No one's talking about that. No one's really talking about Nashville, but I think that the NBA is going to want that market. And I don't think they want to expand to Nashville. I think they would love to see a team move there. And I think the most logical team would be Memphis. Now, am I an advocate or I'm promoting that Memphis lose their team? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not. I would love to see them kind of resurrect what's happening there and become a great franchise. But I think that could possibly happen. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in expansion also, because you hear a lot of scuttlebutts about the owners don't want it, and I disagree with that. I think they do want yo, man, this internet talk show thing is crazy from this perspective. You have people in the chat jumping on shows not to really engage in conversation. They come on shows to make it about themselves. And that's just terrible. That's not what we're doing here. I don't want people arguing against each other on this show, right? Go on your own show. I'm talking to one guy right now. You guys know that. Hopefully you hit the like button. You subscribe to the show. I'm going to write something in the chat. I need your help. I'm going to tell you about it in a second. All right, I just put something in the chat now. It says Frank Red Music. What I need you to do, I have another YouTube channel strictly for my music that I have not been using because my distributor, TuneCore, made a YouTube channel for me. So I didn't have to really deal with it. But I'm going to take over my YouTube channel for my music content because I'm ready to release some more music. And what TuneCore says that you have to do, what they will do is they will transfer my Frank Red topic music channel to Frank Red Music. But when I tried to do that last week, the message popped up that said that you need to have at least 15 subscribers to a channel before they will allow me to combine those two channels together. The reason why I want to do it is because listeners can't comment on my music. So you can't leave a comment. You can leave a comment on this show, but if you go to Frank Red Music, you find you find the songs I put out, you can't leave a comment. I want you to subscribe to Frank Red Music if you do that. I think I have like 12 or 13 subscribers. I have to have at least 15. So if you would do that, I really appreciate it. All right. Thank you. No spaces, just Frank Red Music. You'll go to it, subscribe to it, and that'd be kind of cool. The interesting thing is somebody took a song that I did in the past and posted it on my channel. I didn't even do it. Another song called I Get Down. It's actually pretty good. It's one of my pretty good performance. I didn't realize I had did it before. So pretty cool. Speaking of music, I want to talk about the Clips. They got a new album out now called Let God Sort Them Out. And some of you might be like, Red, who the hell is the Clips? All right. Well, you probably know Pharrell, right? Pharrell, the fashion icon, producer extraordinaire. Well, he comes from a part of Virginia where he had some friends, the Clips, and they formed a group, and Pharrell produced them. They had a big time hit decades ago called Grinding. And I mean, I respected them. I can't say I was a fan of their music. I didn't hate their music. I just wasn't like really up on their stuff. But Pusha T and his brother Malice were in the group. They've come out with an album that's fire. So check it out. They did a song on Jimmy Fallon. I want to say on when was that? Was that last week or was it earlier this week? Well, they did a song about their parents. It's called Birds Don't Sing. With a singer who actually is not the same person singing the hook on the album. John Legend sings the hook on the album. But they had a singer on the Jimmy Fallon show that was unnamed. But I thought her rendition was actually better. Birds Don't Cry. It was Birds Don't Sing. I'm sorry. Birds Don't Sing. So check them out. Check out the clips, all right? Also, this might sound strange to you, but Justin Bieber got a hit. Daisies, he got a hit also. And I don't buy Justin Bieber's music. I don't buy singles. I'm not a fan, but I respect his talent. I think he definitely has talent. And, you know, when you hear somebody always in the news about things outside of what they do, it's refreshing to see him come back with an album that his fans are loving. And there's some joints on it that I, as a songwriter, can also appreciate. So I wanted to get that out there. Nas also did a dope verse on Raekwon's album. And a lot of people think that he was shooting his shot back at Jim Jones, who had some things to say about Nas over the past, I guess, couple of weeks or so. If that is the case, and I don't know if it is or not, Nas is just amazing. Nas is the best rapper to me. Well, I'm going to say Nas has had the best career. I'm going to say that. To me. There are several other worthy artists that you can make that statement about. But his discography is as good as anybody's. That's for damn sure. Appreciate you, Keys. I just subscribed, friend. Can't wait to listen to your music after the show. Yeah, well, that's a joint. I mean, I'm gonna say if you haven't listened to my music, I would say there's two stations. The station that has TuneCore, it says Frank Red Topic, you know, and on that particular station you can't leave comments. But thank you for subscribing to that one, because I'm going to be releasing a lot of music. I'm working on 2 songs now that I expect to have out there probably in about 30 days. So I love it, man. I love putting music out. I was talking to my mother, and just kind of talking about how, like, when you get to a point of excellence to the extent that you know you on that level, you don't worry about other people, or you don't concern yourself with other people critiquing you. You just don't care, you know, because you put that work in. So it's kind of how I feel as an artist, you know. I love doing it as much as I love talking about sports. So yeah, we're going to get started. It's going to be nonstop coverage of the NFL. The best sport to watch on television is definitely the NFL. It's going to be nonstop, every day, camp news. The only thing, Hard Knocks this year is going to feature the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if you guys know that. The Buffalo Bills could not be more boring, you know? So when we get some nuggets, if we get some nuggets, that would be great. But Buffalo is pretty boring. Obviously, I wanted them to go to Cleveland, but they've done Cleveland before. They didn't want any parts of it because of the Shador thing, and I get it, you know. But I'm excited that we get into the point where we're going to be able to watch NFL football. College football, to me, is just as enthralling, and it's a totally different game. But I'm interested in seeing how Colorado does without Shador. Hopefully, Coach Prime's health allows him to continue coaching. He's been through it. And, there's some irony. I mean, there's a weird dichotomy there. When you think of somebody having some health challenges and being one of the greatest athletes that we've ever seen, you would think that he'd be in tip-top health, but that's not how things work out. That's not how it works. Who do you believe was the best college sports coach of all time? There's a lot to pick from. I'm going to say Nick Saban. And I'm going to say Nick Saban because I don't know of a coach. You could kind of say Harbaugh to a certain degree. Harbaugh won at San Diego, coaching Josh Johnson. He resurrected Stanford's program, and he won a national championship at Michigan. But I got wind of Nick Saban at Michigan State. He crushed it there, won a national championship with Russell, right? And obviously at Alabama, he has been dripped in gold there. So I think Nick Saban. Is he my favorite college coach? Nah, I'm not saying that. But yeah, I mean, people can talk about Bo Schembechler. They can talk about many other coaches, Lou Holtz, many other college coaches who've done well. But I think it's Nick Saban. Who do you think? I think a lot of people probably have some challenges drawing that conclusion because Nick Saban is so present in modern day football that we're getting farther and further away from some of the great coaches of the past. But when I look at the landscape of college football, I don't think anyone has done more than Nick Saban. So that's my answer. I'm having a hard time jumping on board with some of the commentary around how great these college quarterbacks are going to be and how many, future first-round picks that they have in college. I'm thinking to myself, well, there's a lot of young quarterbacks in the NFL. Where are these guys going to play? Whose spots are they going to take? If you look at the NFL, think about how many young, talented quarterbacks there are. A lot of young ones. Now, I guess you could look at Dak, the Dallas Cowboys, and think that at some point they're going to move on from him. But when you look at, but I got to see Manning play. I got to see him play. I mean, Musmeyer, the kid at LSU, I saw him play last year. I'm not overly impressed with him. I'm not overly impressed with Clemson's quarterback, another guy who they say is a potential first-round pick. I'm like, really? So I can't wait for college football. I love college football. The NFL is awesome. Those are the 3 most non-productive months of my life, 4 months, and I love it. I'm genuinely not as productive on the weekend because of sports, particularly football. And I'm okay with that. So, if I was asking you to give a grade to the Warriors this summer, it's kind of watching their summer league teams, being a Warrior fan, trying to find something good from what you saw. What would you say? I'm going to give the Warriors a C. I'm going to give them a C. The kid Richards from Florida, I think he is definitely going to get a two-way contract, and he'll probably sit on an NBA bench this year at times. But I didn't see a player that I can say without question is going to be an NBA player. I didn't see that guy. So I'm not overly concerned like a lot of Warrior fans. I think that things are going to work itself out. They generally do for the Warriors. They generally get what they want at the end. But gosh, it's taking a long time. It really is. And it's only going to get more and more frustrating. I think fans who cover them every day. The Warriors are the only team who haven't signed anybody. Zilch. Nobody. I kind of want to see, you guys think Pat Spencer's coming back? I want to see him get another shot. I think he did enough to come back. He says, I had a laugh when I heard about the strip club expenses for the shady NFL PA rep who got fired for colluding with the NFL. The players need better reps. Yeah, he's not a rep. This dude is like executive vice president or something like that. And that was crazy. That was crazy. But what it says is that you can't trust anybody. This is somebody who's representing your organization from a player's perspective. And he's colluding with the owners on salaries. How corrupt is that? That's terrible. Not surprised by it. And I'm not surprised by the fact that he went to a strip club. I'm surprised that he would put it in the reports or in the expense account. But give me what? And he resigned. Similar to the CEO at the Coldplay concert. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being a CEO of a big company and all of a sudden you get jumbotroned and you're like, holy, you're like falling to the side, kissing on the woman, and all of a sudden she's hiding her face. And I don't know if his wife saw him in real time, whatever the case, but talk about, know what that is, Keys and everybody else? That's a Southwest Airlines commercial. Want to get away? Was that Southwest Airlines? That's a want to get away commercial. If I ever seen one before. That was crazy. Oh well. You know. I think he's gonna be okay. The marriage, probably not. What did you guys think of the kid Tui from Australia? The guy who came highly recommended by Bogut. I don't know if he's ever going to make the NBA. I think that at the very least, he needs a year in the G League just to deal with the physicality. Hopefully he stays over here. I want to see if he can develop. But didn't look real good in the Summer League, which is okay. Sometimes you don't look great in Summer League. The team that I have been most impressed with in terms of remaking their team, making their team better, I like what Portland did. Hanson Yang, that kid is a beast. You know, you're looking at the starting center for the China Olympic team. You know, he's gonna be a pretty good pro too. Athletic. I don't know if I've seen a player from China that athletic before. And when I mean athletic, not he can jump, although he can jump, but his agility, his dexterity, I haven't seen that from a player from China before. But Hanson Yang is a really, really talented dude. He is. And I like what Charlotte did. Charlotte got quality with all of their draft picks. Every single guy can play. So good for them. Basketball, with the exception of the WNBA, is going to be put on pause now. This is when organizations generally go on vacation, go to an island somewhere before school starts, coaches refresh their bodies and get away from it. Although the Warriors can't do that. The Warriors are one of the few teams that can't do that because, they're still in business mode with Jonathan Kuminga. Chicago's another team. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing plays out. All right, that's going to do it. We put 90 minutes on the board. Hopefully you hit the like button. I really appreciate it. If you did, subscribe to the show. I'm going to reach out to Vicky. Vicky has been MIA. Or is it Vicky? I don't know. I'm going to send her a message probably tomorrow to make sure she's okay. But yeah, she hasn't been around the past couple of weeks. And maybe she's listening and just commenting, which is all good. So hopefully everything is cool with her. All right, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you have not done so before, go to Frank Red Music and subscribe to that channel also so I can make the transition from my distributor YouTube channel to my own YouTube channel, which will allow people to make comments on my music, because that's really important. You can like it, but to have people give you some real insight on it, I think takes my game to the next level. All right, I'm gonna do my thing, get out of here. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you're the individual, don't do things to help other people make their lives better. As far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. All right, good night, everybody, and I will talk to you later.